You were in a relationship for a period of time and have 2 children.
She took the kids out of the state without my knowledge.
Does your daughter enjoy a relationship with her father?
No.
Why don't you wait outside?
This is Judy Justice. A Surratt is suing her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, for the cost of a car and childcare.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy at the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case 2195, Surratt versus Vasquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Desiree.
Ms. Surratt, you and Mr. Vasquez were in a relationship for a period of time and have 2 children.
Correct.
Together. How old are the children?
I have a daughter that's 15 and a son that's 8.
How long did you and Mr. Vasquez live together, if you did live together?
It was a lot of off and on, so I would say maybe a combined time of 8 years.
And does your daughter enjoy a relationship with her father?
Unfortunately, no.
Is that correct?
As far as I knew, that she had a great relationship with me.
When was the last time you saw your daughter, sir?
We spoke just a couple of days ago. You know, she has more time with friends now, but I do speak with her on a frequent basis.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Why don't you wait outside? Okay? Because, Ms. Surratt, I don't believe in, unless it's absolutely necessary, and certainly in this situation, doesn't sound to me as if it's absolutely necessary to have your teenage daughter as a witness over a couple of $1,000, which you may or may not be entitled to. Certainly, her father is in touch with her. She said he's in touch with her, which means that they communicate and that they have a relationship. Because I read the complaint and I read the answer, and I have a few basic questions. You're suing Mr. Vasquez, who you haven't lived with in many, many years, but who you share, according to what I've read here, joint legal and physical custody. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that pursuant to a court order?
Yes.
And when was that court order made?
I have a copy of it, so I can tell you.
2011, Your Honor. 2011.
Was there a trial, Mr. Vasquez?
There was a trial, Your Honor, yeah.
Were you represented by counsel?
I represented myself.
And what about the plaintiff? Did she have a lawyer?
She did, Your Honor.
I'd like to see a copy of that order.
It's from 2017.
Well, there was one in 2011.
This is the original one. It hasn't changed since then. We have parenting and legal custody and a child support order, which is separate.
Judy reviews a document.
I'll say the 2016 order, the ex parte order, originally granted Mr. Vasquez custody of the children. Yes, you were the respondent in that case. It said on October 28, 2016, petitioner, that is Mr. Vasquez, filed a motion to establish custody and parenting time. The petitioner, that is Mr. Vasquez, seeks joint legal and physical custody. The petitioner also sought an order granting sole legal custody of the children based upon the allegations that his daughter was watching his son without supervision for extended periods of time and that his daughter was not attending school. Child Protective Services did an investigation and actually found that you were not sending your daughter to school.
Correct.
And she was staying home and she was babysitting. Okay. Would you tell me, without my having to go through this whole thing, was there a child support order entered?
Yes.
Ultimately the children remained with you.
Correct.
The final order. And what was the child support order?
The child support order initially was $93 a month. I think I have a copy of it. And then to increase based off cost of living adjustments every year.
Is that $93 a month for both children?
For both children.
Okay.
Yes.
The order was ultimately increased. How much do you pay in child support now, sir?
$230 a month, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, that's not the order.
Well, I asked how much you pay. Were you ever in arrears of payment?
I was at one point, and then I caught up, so I've been caught
Well,
up.
they're catching up, so that $230 may be partly arrears. What is the order?
Oh, I'm completely caught up with my child support.
So the current order that you're paying is $230 a month?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. This is what you're suing for. It is your claim that Mr. Vasquez agreed to pay half of certain sporting fees that the children had that are not contained in the child support order, and he didn't. So you're suing him for that, and he says that you never had such an agreement, that you enrolled the children in sporting activities, and then came to him and said, do you owe me half? Am I reading that correctly?
Your Honor, that's correct.
That's your position.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's move on to the plaintiff's position that you wanted to change the child support order to not what he was paying, but what he was paying, and half of their sporting activities.
We actually had a verbal agreement.
Well, I'd like you to tell me when that took place, what you said to him, and what he said to you. So tell me first when that verbal agreement took place.
It was 2021, probably, just a conversation between two parents to say if we enroll.
It's a conversation between two parents.
Right.
So he's seeing the children, he's paying his child support, whatever the order was. You have a conversation with him. Is it on the phone or in person?
Caption coming up.
Mr. Vasquez, your father says that he gave you the money. Certainly wasn't today, because 2 weeks later, he writes back, if we could arrange for me to get the title while you were here, that would be awesome. So the story you just gave me was a whole lot of who shot John.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Desiree and Curtis.
Desiree Surratt claims her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, owes for the cost of a car and childcare. Curtis is countersuing for car repairs and vacation expenses.
Tell me first when that verbal agreement took place.
It was 2021, probably, just a conversation between two parents to say if we enroll.
It's a conversation between two parents.
Right.
So he's seeing the children, he's paying his child support, whatever the order was. You have a conversation with him. Is it on the phone or in person?
No, in person.
At your home?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about the conversation. What did you say to him and what did he say to you?
I don't remember the exact words, but...
Well, that's why we bring these things quickly, because now it's 2 years later.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was basically, well, he wants to play this sport, Angelina wants to do track, this is how much it's going to cost, and his response was just, okay, let me know how much it is, and I'll pay half.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's not quite correct. We don't have just conversation. We don't have any conversation at all. We communicate via text, and I rarely get a response. I've taken care of...
Just a second. We're talking about this one instance.
Okay.
She said that you had a conversation with her where you agreed to pay half of their sporting events. Based on that, I assume that you enrolled the children in the sporting events, paid the fee, and then said to him, this is your half. And he said, I'm not paying that half.
That's not correct, Your Honor. I didn't agree to pay half.
No, I'm not saying you agreed to pay half. That's what her position is.
I actually enrolled my son into soccer.
When?
It was this summer in July, and he was supposed to go for a month, and she took the kids out of the state without my knowledge for an extended vacation. And so I didn't have her pay half of that, and when she came back, she wanted to make that up to him, but that's without my knowledge.
Okay. How much did you pay for soccer?
$75.
So you never had a conversation with her about paying half of this? And it was never reduced to a modified order of the court because you have a court order for support. Okay. So I'm eliminating that. You want to change the order of support, you have to change it in court. Now let's move on to the second thing that you think that he owes you for. Cell phone. Let's hear about the cell phone.
He opened a cell phone account for my daughter.
When?
I don't know when it was.
When did you open a cell phone account, sir?
About 7 years ago.
And he paid it? He opened an account and he paid it?
Him or his dad. It was a business account.
I don't care.
I don't know
You
if he
didn't
paid
pay
it. Correct.
You didn't pay it. So your daughter has had a cell phone for the last 7 years? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you didn't see the bills for it?
Correct.
Okay, so he paid it?
Somebody paid it, yes. Yeah.
He paid it?
I paid it, Your Honor.
You didn't pay it?
Correct.
Okay. So now you want money for a cell phone. For what?
Just for the last 6 months that I paid, I never agreed to, so I'm just asking for
Then
half
take
of
the
that.
phone away.
Well, she's 15, she's got
I
a
understand
job,
that.
and
I understand that. Who bought her the phone?
I bought the phone.
Okay. And how many years ago did you buy the phone?
It was about 1.5 years ago.
Okay. And it was paid for on his plan?
No, I paid for the phone cash.
No. The bills, ongoing bills, were paid for by him and the phone that you bought her 1.5 years ago, because you said you've been paying the bills for 6 months.
Yep.
Is that correct? Whitney, didn't you say I've been paying the bills for the last 6 months?
Yes. Correct.
Well, so when you first got the phone for a year, he was paying the bills.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Well, he was paying the bills for 7 years, but certainly after you bought the phone. But prior to that, she had a different phone. She had to have had a different phone because he was paying the phone bills for 6 years. Who bought that phone?
I don't know.
Your Honor, I purchased that phone. It was the iPhone XR.
Okay. So you bought the first phone, you bought a second phone. Very nice. And he paid the bills, the phone bills for 6 years, and you paid it for the last 6 months. It's not part of a court order. If you agreed to do that, you agreed to do that. What are you getting courts involved for?
I never agreed to pay the cell phone.
Well, he never agreed to pay his cell phone when she was 13 or 12. Your parents. He paid it for a long time. Now you're paying it. What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a realtor.
You work in a family business?
Absolutely.
Tell me about the family business.
It's children first and foremost. You know what's best for them.
No. The family business, sir.
Oh, the family business.
You're in real estate. Is it a family
It
business?
is not a family business.
It's just yours. And you've been in real estate for how long?
For about 3 years now. And prior to that, I was in sales. That is a family business, and it's real estate marketing.
That's a family
That's
business.
family business.
You're not involved with that
I am.
anymore. You
Also-
still are.
Yes.
Who owns that business?
Dad.
Your father.
He does, yes.
How many employees do you have?
Just about 10, Your Honor.
So your father employs 10 people and you're one of them.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And what does your father pay you annually?
Oh, it's commission only, so no benefits.
And in the other real estate operation do you have your own office or do you operate out of your father's office?
My own office.
Where?
In Maple Grove, Minnesota.
Do you have any employees?
I don't.
So you work for your father on commission and yourself.
Commission only as
Commission
well in
only.
the real estate market.
Okay. Did you file tax returns last year?
No, I did not.
Is there any reason for that?
Just late. Just over.
You're late. You're a year late.
Yeah.
What about the year before? Did you file tax returns?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And how much did you declare as income the year before last?
It's like 55, I think. 55,000, yep.
Okay, so phone bill, I've taken care of the phone bill. You paid it for her, fine. And if you don't want to pay it anymore, let her get an after-school job and pay for her own phone. Now, the next thing that you're suing for is, according to your complaint, you had a car that you weren't using. Mr. Vasquez has a father who wanted a car. It is your claim that Mr. Vasquez, without your permission, sold the car, your car, to his father for $700, and you didn't get any of that money.
Correct.
Mr. Vasquez says his father was going to buy the car. He drove it. He didn't want to buy it because it had issues, and it's sitting in his father's driveway waiting for you to come and get it, and that he never got $700 from his father for the car. That's his position, correct?
No, there's correction. I did get $700 and paid him back the next day because the car broke down within a day.
Because what?
It broke down within a day.
Okay, so you did sell it to him.
Yes. We were in the middle of the transaction. He paid for the car at the office, which is about 10 miles away from home. And while driving the car home, it broke down. So we hadn't received the title or anything, so I returned the money.
Caption coming up.
Okay, you planned a trip to Portugal in August of 2022.
That's correct.
Airplane tickets. Where'd you get the money for all that?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Desiree and Curtis.
Desiree Surratt has accused her ex-boyfriend, Curtis Vasquez, of selling her car without her permission. Curtis claims he refunded the money, and she can take the car back.
Okay, so you did sell it to him.
Yes. We were in the middle of the transaction. He paid for the car at the office, which is about 10 miles away from home. And while driving the car home, it broke down. So we hadn't received the title or anything, so I returned the money.
Is the car still titled in your name?
Yes.
So go get it.
I don't want the car, no.
Well, it's your car. It's titled in your name.
Yes, but apparently I have text messages showing he sold the car without my permission.
Whether he did or not, well, he can't sell the car because title never transferred.
Right.
And he's saying you can go and get the car. It's sitting in the driveway. His father doesn't want it. Title didn't transfer. He didn't get money for the car and keep it. It was a sort of silly transaction because what you are suggesting is he should have said to his father, that's it, it's sold as is. You can't have your $700 back.
Right, and my understanding is that his dad through a conversation that I had with his dad did not
No, you
get
can't
the money
tell.
back.
You can't tell me about the conversation. If you have text messages
I do.
between them, I would like to see them.
I do, yes.
Desiree hands documents to Kevin.
So there's those text messages. And I also have several text messages where Curtis agrees to pay me the money and also telling me the
This
car
is
ran
Desiree.
the
Curtis
number.
said you would take possession of the Kia, but I asked about the title. Big Curtis, is that your father?
Your Honor, yes, it is.
Okie dokie. Mr. Vasquez, your father says that he gave you the money.
That's correct.
And that it certainly wasn't a day, because 2 weeks later, he writes back, sorry, not good at checking my text. If we could arrange for me to get the title while you were here, that would be awesome. That's 2 weeks later. Your father didn't say to her, he gave me the money back. He said, I want the title. That's 2 weeks later. So the story you just gave me was a whole lot of who shot John.
Well, Your Honor, there's one thing that we need to clear up right away is that it was never sold without her knowledge.
Just a second. Now what I'm asking you, sir, I'm saying that your original story to me was that I sold my father the car with her agreement. That's what you say
That's
here
right.
for $700. He gave me the $700, but this, am I correct, Whitney, that the car broke down the next day?
He said the car broke down within a day.
Within a day, and so you gave him his money back. Well, that's not what your father says here, sir. That's not what your father says here.
I went back and forth with him for days, but I gave him his money back.
No, what you told me was a lie. You told me it broke down the day you gave him his money back. The initial conversation she had was May 9th. And then May 16th, she's having a conversation with Big Curtis. That's your father.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for not checking my texts. Can you get me the title? Which means 2 weeks later, he wanted the title. And then your father says about you, Curtis owes me big time money, and I can't get money from him either. That's your father.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yes.
correct, Your Honor.
Big Curtis says to her, can you tell me what problem does Curtis have that caused him to spend massive amounts of money in such a short period of time? She answers, drugs, alcohol, gambling, he's a functional addict. He even got around $40,000 and he blew every penny. So the $700 you gave him for the car, I'm just going to file a small claims. For whatever reason, he's refusing to give it to me. It's not your fault that he stole the money from me. Just FYI, I have no issue giving you the title. Okay. So far, he owes you $700 for the car. And then we're finished. Get Big Curtis the title. Mail it to him. He sends you his address.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Great. Now you have a counterclaim, Mr. Vasquez.
Yes, Your Honor. I have some evidence I'd like to present.
Don't give me all that nonsense. You say that the plaintiff canceled a vacation trip. You made plane arrangements to take your children somewhere, and she took the children out of state. And car repairs that you gave her money for, car repairs, $250. I helped her repair her car and spent $250 on parts. When was that?
That was the car in question that we were just talking about. I actually,
Okay, you planned a trip to Portugal in August of 2022.
that's correct.
Airplane tickets. Where'd you get the money for all that?
My parents helped me with the purchase of the kids' tickets
Why?
because I couldn't afford all of them.
Who was going on the trip?
It was going to be my wife, myself, and 2 kids.
Did you go on the vacation to Portugal with your wife?
No, we did not make it.
You did not make it.
Correct.
Why?
Because she is responsible of...
No, not her. Not with your 2 kids. Did you go with your wife?
No, I didn't.
Why?
I didn't want to go without the kids. It was the whole purpose was to bring the kids to see the grandparents.
Does your wife work?
Yes.
What kind of work does she do?
She's a bartender.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. Don't make any more private agreements with him, madam. I think it's a big mistake.
I
We're
agree.
done. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're
Your Honor.
finished.
Thank you.
We're
I
finished.
had one more.
I just ruled that your counterclaim is dismissed.
Your Honor.
You're finished.
I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get everything that I felt that I was owed.
Well, a bit disappointed. I felt like I had a lot more coming my way.
Number one, I will not do him any favors.
I've taken care of my kids financially for the last 7 years.
Especially of monetary value.
She feels entitled 6 months, so be it, but I didn't agree to it.
I hope that this is kind of a wake-up call to him
It's completely ridiculous. I'm just tired of having my name dragged through the mud.
to do honest business whether it's in personal relationship or business.
I take care of my kids.
He's got a long history of owing money, not paying it back.
Always have, and always will, regardless.
He runs through family and friends and dry your pocketbooks and laugh out the door. He doesn't care.
Claim money for a cell phone that, I bought. And, I think this is all to do with spite.
Just my kids. At the end of the day, whatever's best for them.
I just want to be there for the kids, and I just want to be done with the drama.
Judy and Sarah.
I have very little to say about that case, very little thoughts, except that Big Curtis, the defendant's father, doesn't like him.
I didn't get to read the messages, but
Clearly.
I'll
He
take
said,
your
what
word
is he
for it."
doing with all the money? My initial reading of that
Yeah.
case was, maybe she's being unreasonable. She's really not being unreasonable.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there's not a lot more to little Curtis than we were able to see
Yes,
today.
I agree.
That his father, Big Curtis,
I've seen,
understands.
yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
You were in an accident.
Yes, ma'am.
Was the car fixed?
Not at all.
Why not?
Why it didn't get fixed? Because she popped up to my home and caused drama.
And you hit them.
That was my. Oh, sorry.
Am I wrong about that?
No, ma'am.
No, then don't speak.
This is Judy. Selena Brown and Trayon Dupree are suing their customer, Brianna Freeman, for rental car damage and lost wages.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2174, Brown Dupree versus Freeman.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, who's the business person?
It's us.
That would be you?
Yes,
Your name is Mr. Dupree.
Mr. Dupree.
You a couple?
No, ma'am. It's business partners.
In what business?
Car rental.
How do you know each other?
We met from the military.
So you're not a couple, you're just in business together. I just want to know. Don't both smile. I just want to know. Let's go.
We're friends.
Yeah, we're friends. We're friends.
What? This is not going to happen for me.
We're not a couple. We're friends. And we decided to go in business together.
Where do you live?
Houston, Texas.
Where does she live? Where does she?
Houston, Texas.
Does she live in the same place that you do?
In the same home?
In the same place, building?
Oh, no, we don't.
Who do you live with?
Myself.
Who does she live with?
Herself.
When did you meet in the military?
2021. Not really sure exactly what month, but
Now, if you're in business together, is the only business you had this one car that we?
yes, we was just starting.
What kind of work do you do?
Crane operation.
Full time?
Yes.
And what about you?
I work at a call center.
So that's your primary source of income.
That's correct.
Yes.
And you decided to do this car rental as sort of a side gig.
Yes.
We had just got out the military, so we didn't have a job then. So we did it for a primary source of income.
Well, you can't have one car that you rent as a primary source of income.
We have our military disability check as well, so we have that. And we
How long were you in the military?
Almost 9 years.
And you?
8.
Where did you serve?
Norfolk, Virginia, and Mayport, Florida. Jacksonville, Florida.
So you were never out of the United States?
Yes, I went overseas for deployments, but never stationed.
But where did you go on your deployment?
Bahrain, Dubai, Greece, Italy, all over.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
What about you?
Only Virginia.
Only Virginia?
Only Virginia.
How did you become disabled in Virginia?
I have no idea.
I mean, you said you're on a military disability, so, I could understand if you deployed someplace else.
I have no idea.
You have no idea what?
Why, I guess, became disabled. Just mentally, I guess. Mental.
Well, you applied for a disability from the Army.
You said what?
What?
I said mental.
Just my own curiosity. I have to see how this is going. How much is your disability benefit from the Army?
$2,000.
A month? It's not an answer. Yes is an answer. What about you?
Same.
And is your disability mental or physical?
Both.
Well, your physical disability doesn't inhibit you from being a crane operator.
No, not really.
Great. I love America. Okay, so now you're out, you're both on disability. from the Army. You don't have a job yet, so you decide to buy a Mercedes.
That's correct.
What year Mercedes?
2014.
And how much was it?
22,000.
Is there a note on the car?
Yes.
For how much?
$350.
Per month?
Yes.
How much of a loan did you take out?
23, one of them. It's not too much.
Car was only 22.
The car was 22.
I don't know the exact number that the car is right now, but it was between 21 and 23,000 that we owed on it. And I took the loan out.
Where is the car now?
In Texas.
With whom?
She has it right now.
What was the rental agreement that you had with Miss Freeman? You didn't form a business corporation or anything else, am I correct?
Yes, we have LLC.
And the sole asset is this car?
Yes.
You bought the car when? Give me the date again.
I think it was in July.
July of 2022?
That's correct.
And when did you rent the car to the defendant?
August 27th.
Do you have the rental agreement?
Selena produces documents.
Let's get those.
I don't have the original agreement because it was in my car that was stolen, but I made her take a picture with her driver's license and send it to me. So this is a copy, and this is before she signed it.
And I have after I signed.
It's literally the same thing.
This,
so you know you.
let her talk.
Judy reviews the documents.
Okay. What I'd like you to do is take a look at this, Miss Freeman, and tell me if you have it. It's the same
Yes,
one she had.
ma'am.
Okay. And this is the entire agreement, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Caption, coming up.
I don't know why you're arguing. It doesn't appear, madam, it doesn't appear as if you are losing this case. So I don't know why you feel compelled to make it hostile.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Treyon, Selena, and Brianna.
Selena Brown and Treyon Dupree claim their customer, Brianna Freeman, owes for damages to their Mercedes rental car. Brianna is countersuing for lost wages.
So there's nothing in this agreement that prevents her from allowing somebody else to use the car, and the agreement specifically says that if anything happens to the car, she is responsible to use her insurance, and you have a policy number, your policy number for insurance. Okay, so your boyfriend was driving the car on what date?
The 1st.
First of what?
September. And I have the accident report if you want that.
Not yet, I may. Not yet, but there was an accident and the car was damaged.
Correct.
Anybody have a photograph of the damage to the car?
I have it on my phone if you'd like to see that.
I would.
While we're waiting, Your Honor, I found the LLC filing that lists both of them as the
Principals.
As the principals, but they list the same address for both of them. Their residents are listed as the same.
Oh, really? Interesting. Want to say that a little louder?
I just said I found both of them listed as managing members of the LLC with the same address for both of them listed.
I lived in a different state when we started. I was in Florida.
We don't live together. That's what y'all are saying.
It just lists.
Yeah,
lists
that's just the
places there's
LLC
as well.
address.
It's in my boyfriend's phone because the number that's on the contract was his phone at the time. So if you want to see
I had a
the
picture right here.
And I have multiple pictures as well.
Of the car?
That's correct.
Well, that's what I'm asking you for. I said I want to see pictures of the damage to the car. You were in an accident?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you agreed in this contract that if you were in an accident, Brianna, that would be you,
Yes.
will use her insurance if anything happens during the rental. Brianna will be responsible to pay out of pocket.
Correct.
You signed that?
Correct.
Okay, so you were in an accident. I don't care whose fault it is because it doesn't have anything to do with fault. Picture of the car.
There's multiple. It's
another paper picture.
It's a couple pictures, so you can just check as well.
Selena hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews images of a damaged vehicle, then gestures to Brianna's boyfriend, Eshwin.
Stand up. Somebody hit you in the rear?
No, in the front.
Oh, this is the front of the
They
car?
ran a stop sign.
What?
They ran a stop sign. I was coming up. They were coming across.
Well, whatever. You had damage in the front of your car. In my mind, that usually means that you hit somebody.
No, they came across from me. They ran a stop sign in front of me.
And you hit them. Okay, well, that's what it usually means, that you hit somebody in the front. Okay, and that was on September 1st.
Correct.
Did you notify your insurance company?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to see proof of that.
So these are the claims, the quotes they gave me to fix the car. Also, this is when I let her know, Ms. Brown, what was covered under my policy.
I'd like to see it.
So that's that. It shows what's covered in my policy.
Was the car fixed?
Absolutely not.
No.
It was not.
Not at all.
Why not?
Because I didn't talk to Trayon, Mr. Dupree, however you say his name, until the day, September the 5th. All of my business was going through Mrs. Brown. So I don't know if he just found out what happened. But when I called the insurance on the 1st, they let me know that he was the owner of the vehicle. I said, okay. They said they'll have to go through everything through him so that the car can get fixed because I wasn't the title holder. I said, that's fine. I said, okay, due to the fact that the car got wrecked, I let her know that once the car goes to Mercedes-Benz to get fixed, they give a loaner vehicle. I let them know everything that was covered. Why it didn't get fixed? Because she popped up to my home and caused drama. I lost my job behind it, so forth and so on.
What does that have to do with your responsibility? Your boyfriend had an accident with a car. You have a contract that says you're going to fix it.
Because Trayon said it wasn't enough.
What do you mean Trayon said it wasn't enough?
I sent him the quote for their adjusters, and he said that wasn't enough to get it fixed. And I have that text message from Trayon.
Just a second. I'd like to see your quote from your company.
Judy reviews a document.
Where did you take the car for them to send an adjuster to take a look at the car?
I had to take pictures of the car and upload it to the app they sent me, and that's how they got those quotes.
They have an estimate here of $3,000. Did you get an estimate to fix the car?
Yes, we got an estimate.
I'd like to see it.
In person.
In person. That was just the picture, and when I
Okay,
talked.
got it.
Trayon hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
May I interject a little bit? Because Brianna kind of lying, and she raised her right hand. So Brianna didn't notify us that the car was wrecked until September 3rd. She told us that she was in the hospital with her dying father.
Listen
correct?
to me. Listen to me. I don't care.
She lied about
I don't care.
She lied about how the car got wrecked.
I don't care. It doesn't matter how the car got wrecked. She has an obligation to fix it. She has an obligation to fix it. And to be quite honest with you, this is a Mercedes, and this car can't be fixed for $2,900. Can't. He's absolutely right. This car can't be fixed based upon that damage. And he wasn't prepared to say here.
No, it wasn't that at all. So once, I guess, he got involved in the business, I was talking to Ms. Brown. She said she had a rental the next day or something in that manner. And I said, okay, well, let me find a Mercedes-Benz that can actually get your car in so you can get this loaner car for you to rent your car out. Also, in the midst of that, I was going to pay for the rental that she had that was so much wanting to cancel on her. So I said, okay, Mercedes has a loaner car and can accept your car at the time.
Well, they couldn't fix this car for $2,900.
That's what they gave me, and they said that if it went to a Mercedes-Benz shop, they will honor that.
I don't know that at all.
That's what they told me.
I don't care.
But regardless of the price of getting the car fixed, I was going to pay because I know that we was at fault for it. Quote unquote, it was my contract that I signed. That wasn't an issue.
Well, then you can take that up with your insurance company.
Correct. I didn't have a problem with paying.
Yeah, then you can take it up with your insurance company.
Caption coming up.
She lied about how the accident happened. So they denied.
Don't listen to me. You started to say that before. I told you I don't care.
She's just lying and cost us so much money. Like,
madam, listen to me.
Selena lowers her eyes and trembles.
You okay? Good.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Trayon, Selena, and Brianna.
Selena Brown and Trayon Dupree have accused their customer, Brianna Freeman, of damaging their Mercedes rental car after her boyfriend was in an accident.
He has an estimate that looks like a pretty legitimate estimate. They bought the car. It's a relatively new car. They paid $22,000 for it. Your boyfriend wrecked it, and he has an estimate which looks reasonable for $8,000 to fix it. And if your insurance company is dragging their heels and not paying what they should, you take that up with your insurance company.
I never got that quote, by the way.
Which quote?
The quote that the $8,000. I never got that.
Well, I'm going to show it to you.
Oh, it's probably be true.
$8,319.
her insurance denied it. Because she lied. She lied about how the accident happened. So they denied.
I don't listen to me. You started to say that before. I told you I don't care.
My insurance.
Just a second. I told
Your insurance what?
Never denied the claim.
I have proof. I talked to him. I have proof. I have the email where he said they denied it because
They definitely denied it.
Because I told them to stop because she popped up at my house.
because she lied about the accident. Because we tried to get it through our insurance as well.
I don't know why you're arguing. It doesn't appear, madam, it doesn't appear as if you are losing this case. So I don't know why you feel compelled to make it hostile. I don't understand why.
She's just lying and cost us so much money. Like,
Madam, listen to me. We're all told.
Selena lowers her eyes and trembles.
You okay? Good. Your car is in this condition at whose house? At your house?
that's correct.
And the car, since the accident, which was 4 months ago, has it been rented?
No.
No. Is it drivable?
Yes, it's drivable.
When was the last time you drove it?
Last week,
When was the last time you rented it?
since Brianna.
Have you been making the payments on the car?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's been making the payments?
Both.
What is the monthly payment?
$350. $350.
50. You told me that. The insurance up to date?
So we had insurance. We had commercial insurance on it. But when I put in the claim and told them what happened, because we did get lied to about what actually happened, and we didn't get informed of the accident till the 3rd. But when I put in the claim, I put it in how they told us what happened. And my insurance, they found the police report before we did, and they seen what actually happened. So they felt like we was trying to do fraud. So the guy, he told us it's better for us to pull the claim because it's going to look like it's fraud on our part. So they dropped us from the insurance.
So they dropped you after
Yes.
the accident?
Yes.
Can I see the police report now?
Brianna hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Well, this police report indicates that the other person was at fault.
That was my. Oh, sorry.
Am I wrong about that?
No, ma'am.
No, then don't speak. This police report, did you see it?
Yes. Got it right here.
I'd like to see what you have. This police report clearly says that Unit 1, which was the woman, ran a stop sign. That's what it says. Why would your insurance company drop you?
Because we gave the story that she told us, so it looks like we're doing fraud.
Yeah.
And basically, ignorance isn't an excuse for them. So
Actually, that's pretty outrageous.
We was told it was a hit and run.
she told us it was a hit and run, so we told them that. She said she was in the hospital when it got hit, and then we found the report. She waited until the day that we had a rental to tell us. We had another rental on the 3rd that afternoon. She told us that morning.
On the 3rd.
That's correct.
And the accident was on the 1st.
That's correct.
Okay. I think you have to get your car fixed. I think that the fact that your insurance company canceled your insurance when it was clear that he was not at fault in this accident, at least according to the police report, is actually pretty outrageous that they canceled your insurance. Is there any insurance on the car now?
Yes, there's regular insurance on it.
Not commercial anymore?
Not right now because we're not renting it.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $8,000. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Treyon and Selena, then Brianna.
I'm glad we won and everything. I felt like, we deserved more than we got, but at the end of the day, we won the case. I'm not mad at the decision.
I'm fine with it regardless because I know I was trying to get it fixed. It was just a timing issue.
She lied about everything. She literally lied about everything. She pulled out a gun on me.
Lying, I don't have anything to lie about. It's all in my evidence.
Like, she told me to come basically get the car and the keys in the mailbox. And when I went over there to get it, she pulled a gun out on me because I took my wig off.
She posted stuff saying I lied about things. I pulled my gun out on her. Like, girl, I don't have a gun, like at all.
I think that they put it inside, so they checked them. But they said they couldn't go inside, so they checked their body.
They checked them. They wasn't able to prove that they had a gun because, so.
So she said it was a gun, it was a bat, and like I had to get checked twice by the police officer. And it was like she came over here looking for problems because the car was gonna get towed.
It's definitely a risk, but make sure we're prepared for stuff like that from now on.
No hard feelings, supporting black businesses, but it is what it is. You know what you know, it's just facts.
I think I should just be grateful. I'm just gonna be quiet and just be grateful.
Judy and Sarah.
You know, I'm sitting here trying to think of what the takeaway is on this case, and I can't think of the takeaway.
I mean, I'm having a hard time as well, but I think accountability and responsibility could be a good one. The defendant knows what she signed, that any damage to the car from her boyfriend, her, anyone while the car was in her possession is on her. But what we see a lot of is emotional issues come into play when people know their responsibility, but then there's an emotional issue. She came to my job, she harassed me, she came to my house and yelled at me, whatever it is. And they think they can use that as a justification to get out of their accountability. And although I'm not promoting going to someone's house for some self-help, that's not a reason for you not to follow through on your responsibility.
On your contractual responsibility.
Yes. Which she was clearly aware of. So maybe that.
That's the takeaway. Maybe that. You're right.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
He was going to be our third roommate.
He helped out with the rent. Then he helped himself to your girlfriend.
Correct.
Hey, try not to hold each other's hands. Let's do the coochie someplace else.
This is Judy Jalil is suing his former roommates, Katie Calderon and Amante Nepomuceno, for rent and the cost of 2 cats.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Case 2170, Jalil versus Calderon Nepomuceno.
Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, my goodness.
Judy turns to Katie.
Calderon.
Hello.
What's your first name?
Amante.
Amante.
Yeah.
Good. It's much easier than your last name for me to pronounce. Mr. Jalil, this roughly is what the case is about. You and Miss Calderon were in a relationship for a period of time. You decided to take an apartment. You were both on the lease. So far, correct?
Correct.
Your arrangement with Miss Calderon, which seems to be consistent in both your complaint and your answer, is that you had a much better paying job. She was going to provide the food and some other stuff for the house, and you were going to be covering the rent when you lived together, which you did.
Correct.
There came a time when Amante, who was a friend of yours, came to live with you. According to you, he was going to help out with the rent.
Correct.
He came, he lived with you, he helped out with the rent for maybe a period of time, and then he helped himself to your girlfriend.
Correct.
Now they're a couple. When you were no longer a couple with Miss Calderon, she stayed in the apartment for a period of time, but then they both left.
Correct.
And you're suing both of them for rent and for the return of 2 cats that they took when they left. You claim the cats are yours.
That's correct.
That's what the case is about. And some cat expenses in the event that I let them keep the cat. Cats. 2 cats. So when did you and Miss Calderon sign a lease together?
We signed the lease together at the end of July with the landlord present.
July of 2022?
July of 2021. Correct.
And it was for a year?
Correct.
And you had a job working for whom, sir?
I worked for a company called Steris.
What do they do?
They provide medical equipment to hospitals all over the world.
How long have you been working for them?
I'm going to have 8 years under my belt this year.
And when you moved into the apartment in July of 2021, what kind of work was Miss Calderon doing?
At the time, she was working at an animal hotel.
It was a pet daycare boarding facility.
Okay. Were you an hourly employee?
I was an hourly employee.
And I am correct that when you moved in July, your arrangement was that you were going to pay the rent.
That was
the arrangement.
Correct.
When did Armante come to live with you?
About August to...
That's correct.
Judy glares at Katie.
Amante was going to be our third roommate.
You mean 1, 2, 3?
Correct.
Well, you're not roommates, really. You and the defendant, Miss Calderon, were not roommates. You shared a room.
We shared a room and
Armante was going to live where?
In another room.
And what was your arrangement with Armante with regard to paying rent?
We would split the rent 3 ways.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And how much was your share of the rent?
I would say approximately $927.
How long did you live there?
I was there when they signed the lease. I watched it all happen when they signed the lease. I came in, they signed everything.
Well, you didn't sign the lease.
I did not.
But you were there from the beginning?
Yes.
And it was your agreement with the plaintiff that you would pay a third of the rent?
Yes.
Great.
We asked the landlord
Okay,
to.
so, hey, try not to hold each other's hands. Let's do the coochie someplace else. So you agreed with the plaintiff that despite the fact that you were not on the lease, you were going to assume the responsibility of a third of the rent, $927.
Yes.
So you moved in July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. You left in April?
Yeah.
So you were there for 9 months?
Yes.
Did you pay rent for the 9 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
He paid rent for about the 7.5 months.
Okay. And then you left?
Yes.
Why did you leave?
I decided to leave because he decided to go to another place he was offered. So
what do you mean he decided to go to another place?
He
that was...
got a place from his grandparents in another city. So I couldn't hold down the rent with her. So I decided to leave to save money and go back to my parents' house.
Now, Mr. Jalil, you see, you don't make up a story like that, like he just told me. A lot of that has the ring of truth to it. Where are you living now?
My grandparents' house in an in-law unit.
So when did you tell them that you were going to a different place?
In March.
When did you leave?
I left in July.
Did you let him know that you were staying until the end of the lease?
I
what?
I discussed with them that I would be leaving, but I would stick around to help them find either a different location or even suggesting that we all went back to our respected families just to, call it.
Mr. Jalil, this isn't working for you. I have to tell you something, sir. This case is not working for you at all. And it's only because Mr. Amante is very direct with me that you're suing them for $10,000. Where does that come from in your mind? Your agreement with her was you were going to pay the rent. You were never out of pocket. Your agreement was you were going to pay the rent. He paid his rent when he was there. He paid his 1/3. You then told them you were leaving. That's a whole different story than what you wrote in your complaint, Mr. Giulio. Do you understand?
Correct.
It's a whole different story. So, at best, Armante would owe you for 3 months' rent if they just left. But you told them that you were leaving. Now, when did you find out that they were a couple?
I found out at the end of April.
Were you all living together?
Yes.
So you just had 2 months left to the lease. So he was paying you, he paid you in March, you had May, June, you signed the lease in July, so it was over at the end of June, June 30th.
It would have been over at the end of July, Your Honor.
Well, she doesn't owe you any money for rent. At most, he owes you 2 months' rent. Tell me why you left.
My job doesn't pay that well, so I decided to go back to my parents' house.
When you took this apartment, this expensive apartment, that was almost $3,000 a month rent, had you had a discussion with Armante about moving in with you before?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Jalil, I'm reading your complaint because something wasn't registering right with me. You say you moved into the apartment together in August of 2021. Then you go through a whole bunch of stuff about a cat and then another adopted cat. You said in October we adopted a second cat. Around this same time, a third roommate moved in to shoulder some of the rent. Well, that's not true. He moved in right at the beginning.
And that was...
That was what?
That was...
a mistake.
That was a mistake.
Okay. But Armante acknowledges that he agreed right at the beginning. He volunteered the fact that he was there at the lease signing because it was agreed at the lease signing that he was going to pay a third of the rent. So, sir, you owe him rent as long as you show me that you've paid the rent. You moved out in July?
Yes.
And you paid your rent through July, or were you evicted?
No, I paid my rent in July.
Through July?
Yes.
Okay. 1854. Armante, you owe him $1,854. That's for 2 months' rent. Got it? Okay. I'm not subtracting anything because you stole his girlfriend.
That's fair.
Caption, coming up.
What were you requesting when you filed your small claims case?
Either the return of both cats or $5,000.
That's not happening for you, Mr. Jalil.
And later today,
There were restrictions put on the space.
No.
You have to pay attention.
Okay.
Sir, because what I'm suggesting is really in your favor.
Oh, okay. Let me. Okay.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kamar, Katie, and Amante.
Kamar Jalil claims his former roommates, Katie Calderon and Amante Nepomuceno, are wrongfully keeping his cats and owe him rent money.
Now let's deal with the issue with the cats. She doesn't owe you any rent. That was not your agreement with her. You moved out in July, August, September, October, November, December. 5 months ago, she's had both cats, right?
Correct.
She says they're her cats. When did you first file a small claims case?
September of 2022.
What were you requesting when you filed your small claims case? Be careful.
I was requesting either the return of both cats or $5,000, which was the accumulated expense of not just the cats, but also the expenses of her dogs as well. So any animal expenses for the time.
That's not happening for you, Mr. Jalil. When the cats were either registered or went to the vet, whose name is on the sheet as owner?
I believe it was Miss Calderon.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And she owns the cats, and she's had them for the last 5 months. I suggest that you go and adopt 2 more if you want some more cats. Do you understand?
Yes.
You were living together as a couple. However, your friend Amante has to pay you for the couple of months' rent that he didn't, because he says, not you, he volunteered that was your agreement from the very beginning. So he owes you $1,854. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I think he's just kind of butthurt that I moved on.
At least now I can put everything behind me and say that I did try.
I didn't think it would escalate this far.
All you can do in a situation like this is just you learn from it and you move on.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
This is what it is. It's life.
Judy.
I find fascinating, Sarah, that people will write and or be assisted in writing a complaint and an answer, but they read it over. This man is an intelligent man. He has a serious job for 8 years. First of all, he was suing for $10,000. Come up with that money. $5,000 for the cat's expenses, ridiculous. But his complaint had really nothing to, even the timeline.
As your clerk, I know that is a pet peeve of yours when
I don't understand.
they don't match up.
If you're going to tell a lie,
at least tell a consistent lie.
Right.
I think the right thing happened. I think the defendant friend admitted himself that he owed the rent, and that was great, even though he probably should have just kept his mouth shut.
Had not said, I was there when the lease was signed. This was always our agreement.
Yeah.
I was going to be the
But
third
he was
roommate.
honest, which we always appreciate, and so I think the right thing.
So
I think he needs to, like you say, put a period, move on.
Anyway, all happy, and they look happy. They couldn't keep their hands off each other.
Case number 2172, Foster Gardner versus Menzel. All parties, please come forward.
Jamar Foster and Sean Garner are suing record producer Livin Menzel for event costs after Livin canceled their Halloween party.
Who's Mr. Garner? Mr. Foster.
Right here.
Are you going to be speaking? You're standing in the speaking spot.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. According to what I read, the defendant rents a music studio. Is that correct?
I rent a facility in which I own a music studio.
You rent in someone else's building.
Yes.
And you're recording people. During the course of your business, you decided to enter into an agreement with the defendant to use that recording studio, which she rents from that space, which she rents from a landlord.
May I correct you, please, Your Honor?
Yes.
She actually is a facility that has multiple units in it. She runs a studio, and then there's other event space inside of that same facility.
Okay, give me an idea of how large the space is.
I believe we were quoted something like 5,800 square feet.
And so you have a music studio, and around it is other open space.
Yes.
You decided to go into some sort of a business with her. You wanted to run events.
Yes, ma'am.
Social events, nothing to do with the music studio.
Absolutely not.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And according to you, you gave her $6,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Sort of front money to start using that space.
Yes, ma'am.
Subsequent to giving her the money, according to you, there were restrictions put on the space, on the number of people you could have, the kind of parties you could have, etc.
No, absolutely. I apologize.
Well, you have to pay attention,
Okay.
sir, because what I'm suggesting is really in your favor.
Oh, okay. Let me. Okay.
So, is really in your favor, so you have to think.
Okay.
Subsequent to giving her, that means after giving her the money, restrictions were put on the kinds of events and the number of people you could have in the space. Is that true or not true?
That is absolutely true.
No, that's not.
I'll get to you in a second.
Okay.
And you want your $6,000 back.
Yes, ma'am. And
that's what it's about. The defendant does not deny that you gave her $6,000. And then I'm going to hear what her defense is. So I want you to tell me when, for the first time, did you have a discussion with the defendant about going into this business venture where you would front the money and whatever events you would have there, you would reap the benefit, the financial benefit from that. When did you have that discussion with her?
Okay, so we met living at the end of August of 2022. We actually signed the agreement pretty fast. We signed the contract agreement on September 1st.
May I see the agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
There was no agreement signed, so I don't know how it could be signed.
She keeps arguing that.
Just a second. Could you be quiet?
Yes, ma'am.
Jamar hands the document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
So in your hands.
Shh. What's...
That's the studio that she runs?
Sarah, you have to sort of explain it because I don't see signatures. You know, I'm used to looking at contracts where people sign things. But I know you can sign things by DocuSign now. Your signature isn't on here.
Yes, ma'am.
And
that looks like a signature from a DocuSign or some sort of online.
Okay. Is that you?
This was a proposal that I did. I do not even own it yet as a DBA.
Just a second. It's getting better. Don't say anything. This is your proposal. Now I'm going to read it.
Okay.
And your masterpiece management.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, so this is sort of easy. You prepared this proposal. Speak.
Yes, after.
Just a second. You prepared this proposal.
Yes, ma'am.
And as a result of this proposal, you received and deposited $6,000.
Yes.
Yes. Well, then you have a binding contract. Okay? So that's what I'm telling you. You have a binding contract. And there is nothing in this contract that limits the kinds of events or the number of people or anything else with regard to this space. All it says is business activities, event planning, and event rentals. Nothing else. And this is your proposal, so the terms of it are construed if there's any material question, since you prepared the agreement, which became a contract once you accepted their $6,000. I view the terms of the agreement most harshly against you because you prepared the document. And it says this agreement cannot be amended without the written consent of all parties.
Yes.
Yes. So signed the agreement, you got the money, and then at some point, according to them and according to you, you made certain limitations on the kinds of events, the numbers of people, etc.
That is.
Now that happened, according to you, because you do not own that space, you rent that space, and there was a problem with the first party that they threw.
Correct.
Come on, we're not talking about Gone with the Wind here. We're not talking about a 6-volume masterpiece. We're talking about a yes or a no.
Caption, coming up.
Based upon this proposal, they gave you $6,000, which you deposited into your bank account. That means a contract was created. That's the agreement. I'm telling you, that's the law.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jamar, Sean, and Livin.
Jamar Foster and Sean Garner claim record producer Livin Manziel broke their agreement by canceling their event. Livin is countersuing for the costs of a recording session.
Okay, there was a party that got out of hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and after that party that got out of hand, too many people or whatever it was, your landlord complained.
Yes.
Okay, and it was after that that you told your two partners that
We are not partners.
Yeah, according to this you are.
We didn't finalize the agreement.
This is a finalized agreement, madam. I just said to you, I want you to pay attention. This is your proposal. Based upon this proposal, they gave you $6,000, which you deposited into your bank account. That means a contract was created. That's the agreement. I'm telling you, that's the law.
Okay.
You prepared the proposal, you signed it, they said okay, and they fulfilled their part of the agreement by giving you $6,000, which you accepted. Got it? Got it? And you can't, according to the agreement that you prepared, modify this agreement any other way than a written contract signed by both parties. You can't change the rules. Did you know that this was rented space?
We didn't have all of the details about the place.
Well, see, next time you should know what you're dealing with, whether she's the owner or whether she's not the owner, whether she's a renter, whether she has the ability to rent out to sublease for events. I mean, all of these things, before you give somebody $6,000, you should know that. Okay. And you had one event at the space?
No, we actually didn't get an opportunity to throw any events at the space at all. The event that you were speaking of, she had partnered with another group of promoters and individuals to throw that party. So you
didn't have anything to do with that? What was it, a Halloween party or something? It was a Halloween party, but that wasn't with you?
No, that wasn't.
Is that correct?
He was part of the event.
Is that correct, that
No.
it was with other people?
Yes, it was correct. It was with other people. They were just associated with the event. They worked at the event. And
I don't care whether they worked at the event. You received money from other people for an event.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, let's be clear. And after that event, you imposed additional restrictions on the use of the space.
No, Your Honor.
Hold on a second.
They knew about the event.
Hold on. Can't tell me what they knew. This is your contract.
They called a fire marshal.
My landlord contacted me that the neighbors were complaining. People were parking on their lawns 90 minutes into the party, but it was not their party. Somebody else paid you for it. The next party they wanted to throw involved minors, and I told them absolutely not.
Yes, ma'am.
I just made it clear what types of events would be approved. Well, you can't do that. I'm just telling you, you can't do that.
Ma'am, I'm not allowed to throw events that have out drugs for children.
You have to understand something. You can do whatever you want as long as you put it in a contract. You prepared the contract. This contract is silent as to any restrictions on the space for events. So you have to give them their $6,000 back because they didn't have an event. They got nothing of value for their $6,000.
Correction. They were managing an artist whenever I met them that they were responsible for paying. So I'm countersuing them for $1,050.
Just a second.
Okay.
$6,000 they get back.
Okay.
Easy? That's a contract case. Now, you have a counterclaim, and your counterclaim is for $1,000 because you say they owe you that for a rental that they did for an artist that they manage.
I provided my services as a recording artist and a music producer for their artists. I provided them with 2 exclusive beats.
Well, show me the contract with them.
I have.
Just show me the contract with them.
There was no contract.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $6,000. Counterclaim dismissed. We're done. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I was just trying to have a proposal, not a finalized agreement.
Well, I appreciate us getting some type of justice out of the situation.
They came in wanting to do multiple things, and I was excited for my small business.
We tried as much as we could to help out and make sure that we increase the revenue streams inside of that business.
They're actually going to be hosting hookahs with children at your event in your space. I'm not comfortable with that.
To ever associate us with any type of drug use or abuse, especially involving children, that was just an inaccurate claim.
I think it's better just to part ways.
Move over to bigger and better things.
Sarah.
I was going to tell you I had the invitation, per se, for the event for Halloween that they had put together. So they put a lot of time and effort into planning the party. It seemed very legitimate. There was notes about security. There was notes about no alcohol, food and drink will be provided. So I could tell that they had put in a lot of effort to hosting this event. And although it wasn't a malicious breach on the defendant's part, I understand she hosted a party that had nothing to do with the plaintiffs, that she got into a little bit of hot water. So to be cautious, she was letting them know, hey, I can't host these types of events with a lot of people. It makes the street too crowded, whatever the reason. However, I disagree with you because I would have given them the full $10,000 that they were asking because although not a malicious breach, and I understand her concern after having the incident with the previous party, but that's not their fault.
You believe that the difference between the cost of one venue to another should be ascribed to them. It's interesting, but the $6,000 was to cover a lot of events. This is one event. So
I see your point now that you meant put it that way. I just
maybe,
think if you were
yeah,
going to make them whole, they should receive their expectant damages as well, or whatever they relied on based on the contract.
I accept your opinion
Sure.
and perspective.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy Justice.
I'm recalling a teammate. Watch out! Someone has been here. Thanks. Please recall me. Got it.
My grandma.
Fall back to safe zone. Fall back to safe zone.